Now over Hawthorne Hill, down Pilgrim's Drop, and it's brilliant stuff here at Brands Hatch.
Well, after the fun and excitement of Portimao last time out, we head on to the home of British motorsport. It is week number 2 of the World GT Championship here on RaceSpotTV. I'm delighted to be back for this one. Peter, Lorenzo did such a good job last week, but it's great to have the team back together. And I don't hear Peter at the moment, which is really strange. Hopefully we can get that sorted. Here we are.
Well, now that we've got the microphone open properly, Paul, that was a fantastic start. You can tell this is the start of the season, can't you? But there we are. Yes, we had a great time last weekend. Fantastic start to the season. Alex Davidson with 2 wins, a double victory in a feature round, something you don't see very often. It was a great performance, and WSR Porsche looking really, really strong.
They certainly are. We'll look at the schedule here. It was Portimao last time out. We're here at Silverstone before we head to a track that Peter is looking forward to next time out at Jerez. Then we have a week off before we go to Zandvoort, Suzuka and Misano, before another week off after the half point of the season. Long Beach, Spa-Francorchamps and Le Mans to finish off the third quarter of the season. Barcelona, Road America and Daytona to finish off the season at the end of October. And, well, we have some standings to discuss while we're here, and it is, as you mentioned, after a double win last time out, Alex Davidson, who has got a 36-point lead over Ethan Critchley, who's in second, just 7 points clear of Alex Gall in third. Victor Volson, then Anders Meyer, Nathan Moore, Bacon Zelenka, yes, that is his name, Josh Thompson, Axel Sliptrovich and Mads Lund Jensen round out the top 10 in Pro. In Pro-Am, it is Michael Gray who leads just by 9 points over Paul Webster, his fellow teammate. Nikolai Angard is in third place ahead of Jack Osborne, Richard Simner, Joe Newman, Dan Blackwell, Andy Jones, Jamie Rushworth and Matthias Teme is rounding out the top 10. In AM, it is Rhys Saunders who currently leads that one by 24 points over Jesse Payne Wilkins, with Lee King McGee in third ahead of Ben Altria, Simon Andre Livingston, Adam Hedgecock, Jonathan Walker, Adam Locke, Ben Bennyworth, and then Mads Kjelsen rounds out your top 10. In the team standings, in Pro, it is an 18-point lead that WSR Esports have over the butt kicker outfit of WSR Esports. Bayos SimSport third ahead of Altitude Esports by 3M. Altitude Esports by SimStickers in fifth ahead of Racing Lab Esports. Racing Lab Esports powered by Ford, then Atomic Esports Eva, KRD and Prestanda Nomad. In the Pro-Am, it's 8 teams in that series. Full Tilt Motorsport lead that one by 115 points over DCW Racing. Atomic Esports ahead of Altitude Esports by Mr. Hedge. Full Tilt Competition, Quartermass Motorsport, Tech Sport, Academy by AMS, and Full Tilt Racing on 0 points. So there we go, fired through the standings right as we're coming towards the end of qualifying, and the key thing that some of these drivers are going to have to face for the first time in this series, weather is on its way. We've got a weather front on its way, and it's going to be starting with very light drizzle right around race start here, Peter.
And that just was a whole new element into this championship. We've got one of the longest running iRacing leagues there is, particularly the GT cars, and to add this new element of having to be on the right tyre at the right time, it's still something that the iRacing world is still getting to grips with. It's a relatively new addition. We were waiting on it for years and years and talking about it for so long, but now it's here. It's almost like, oh, it's here, we've got to get ready for this, and being on the right tyre at the right time is going to throw these endurance races just into a whole new dimension. Can't wait to see how the drivers manage it.
Yeah, it's going to be intriguing for us. It's going to be intriguing for the drivers in the series. It's the first time that they've ever had to sort of fix this and to be able to see how they get on. We are just going to have to just quickly fix a little technical issue behind the scenes here, so we'll just be right back after these short messages. Well, after the technical problems, we can give you our starting grid here in week number 2 of the World GT Championship, and it's an all WSR front 2 rows. It's Adelayak, Davidson, McFarlane and Critchley, with Josh Thompson and Dennis Grabowski sharing row number 3. Row number 4 is Bume and Wolfson, with Gal and Evdoka on row number 5. Row 6 is Anders Meyer and Jack Sedgwick. 7th row of the grid, Nathan Moore and Joe Newman, with Jamie Rush with Axel Sitchevich, Mats Lund Jensen and Eric Rousseff. Then on row number 9. Row 10 for Jake Blackhall and Michael Gray. Adam Watson and Lee King McGee on row number 11. Row 12 for Rhys Saunders and Nikolai Angard. It's Matt Fletcher and Paul Webster then on run number 13, with row 14 of Alessandro Toccio and Ben Altria, with Jack Osborne and Adam Locke on run number 15. 16th row, it's Kirstens and Archer, with Samway, Zelenka, Barber and Boot then down towards the middle of the field, because it's Blackwell, Payne, Wilkins, Shield, Walker, Teme and Simner. We go Langford and Brown with Kelton and Hedgecock, with Chatterton and Healy. And then the final few rows of the grid: Mike Horder, Ben Pennyworth, with Taylor Lane, Simon Andre Livingston, Peter Herschel and Thomas Ashfag, rounding out 54 entrants to this round of the championship. And it is raining, Peter, and the drivers don't get very long to get any heat into their tyres.
No, they don't. And in these conditions, that is really not what you want to see. So we'll try and get a look and see who's on what tyre compound as well. Is it slicks? Is it wets? With a bit of spray coming up, Paul, I don't know. You'd be pretty brave to be on slicks here?
Well, it's light rain here at Silverstone, but the green flag is out and we're underway. We'll get to see who has played their joker card here through the first corner then at Abbey. Through Farm Curve they go and in towards Village for the first time. This is the first major braking point into that tight right-hander. Oh, a little bit of a dive there from Dennis Grabowski on Josh Thompson. And Thompson coming through the middle. He's trying to go around the outside. Now, with wet conditions, you've got different driving lines to take here in these conditions. You can't take the traditional racing line. You've got to get more of a wet line around here. But in towards Brooklands for the first time here, Peter, and so far everybody is behaving so far.
Oh, Josh Thompson's tuning his luck though, just getting into the side of one of those WSR Porsches and gets a bit of a wiggle on. They both get through clean, so it's WSR Porsche 1, 2, 3, 4, and they really have pulled a blinder, it seems, by being one of the very few teams to go with the Porsche 911 GT3R, and right now it appears to be the car to have.
Through Copse Corner then, the traditional first corner here. Cars running wide, and you've got to be careful getting onto the painted curbs. And well, Agard is finding that out on the exit of Copse as drivers darting left and right trying to avoid him. I think he's already got some damage though as Agard, and that's going to be hindering him through this one. Yes, he's got the mechanical meatball warning flag on my end of the broadcast here, but down towards Stowe for the first time. I think it's a question of, has everyone just decided now it's going to be wet from the start, or has somebody tried to play a swift one and it might backfire?
Well, on this early stage, it's tricky to tell right now, and also which car is going to come out on top. Josh Thompson looking very racy, going to try and hook it around the outside here of Ethan Critchley, and then also James Boomey in there in the Audi as well. Interesting to see how the Audi goes in these wet conditions. The rain really coming down now, so I suspect, Paul, that it's got to be wet tyres as the order of the day right now, but Josh Thompson's making moves.
Well, we have got a heavier band of rain on its way. We know that from the InSim weather radar, and Ethan Critchley, after losing that place. There you see it, bottom right-hand corner of your screen. The darker green stuff is heavier rain. Right now it's just a light rain, but the heavy rain is coming, and that is Adam Watson facing the wrong way down at the loop. I will dare and say, well, do I dare say that he's looped it, or has somebody looped it for him?
It's a loop the loop he's gone loopy as Adam Watson. Not the best start to the season for him, for our Pro-Am champion from last season, but still early days yet. And well, haven't we waited such a long time for this in the world of iRacing, to see this amazingly simulated rain condition really just adding a whole new dimension to this simulator, and the drivers so far, must be said, handling it very well.
and it showed as well that after his time in the wet conditions in the iRacing Spa 24, there goes Adam Watson looping it himself then on the inside curb. Oh no, sorry, that's Matthias Temme is that. So that's what happened to Matthias. Here's Adam Watson then. And, just the slightest of touches. But that's all it takes when you're in wet conditions, isn't it, Peter?
That's right, yeah, just the slightest persuasion to the rear and round you go. Nikolai Agard in the Mustang drifting it there, hanging onto it, and whoa, everyone else coming onto the scene at full tilt. Ian Brown spinning his Corvette, his little red Corvette is around, and triggers a multi-car accident there.
Ian Brown, he won't be singing I Want to Be Adored after that one, as that's what happened to Peter Herschel. Then so off it goes. Peter finally got the joke after a while. The Mustang, I have to say,
it took me nearly 8 minutes, as long as that song.
The Mustang, from speaking to Will Chadwick during the iRacing Spa 24-hour coverage that we produced on here on RaceSpotTV, he was saying how that was the worst car in the wet at that particular venue. I have a funny feeling that it might be just in general that car is not that good in the wet conditions.
I think also it could be that it's just so new too, and just trying to find a setup for it. If you've got a good base of a car that you've used a lot in the dry, I think finding a wet setup is going to be easier because you've kind of got a good base to work from. The Ford is still very, very new to the iRacing platform, so I think they're still in the era of discovery with it. But I think it will be a strong package going forward.
I'm seeing yellow flags for Dan Blackwell off the track at Brooklyn, so he's had drama further down the field. I think to a degree this could be a race of attrition for some people. And it was a hip check between him and another vehicle, and unfortunately Dan Blackwell is the one who comes off worse out of that. Not got a mechanical meatball warning flag, so he's got away with that hit with the barrier.
Oh, that McKee Sports car is going to need quite a lot of repair before it's whole again.
Anyway, so this is what you've got to put up with for the rest of the season.
You fired the first shot, Pauls.
This is what you've got to put up with for the rest of the season, folks. You'll all be praying for Lorenzo to be coming back. Well, it's 3 at the front right now for WSR Esports. Alex Davidson leads this one by 1.2, 1.3 seconds. And the thing is, right now, the in-sim information that I'm getting here says that the track is very lightly wet. And I think that the drivers have got to be really careful not to cook their wet tyres before the heavier rain comes through on them.
Well, we'll see. Into the pits then comes that Atomic Ferrari, just misses the pit box, has to jam it in reverse. Alex Gall early, this very, very early into the pits, so it's not been a good start at all to the race for Alex Gall, who was he came out of Portimao third in the championship.
I wonder if he took slicks. I wonder if he took the gamble.
Could be.
He'll be one to keep an eye on, I think, for the rest of the race. Because that's a very early pit stop. 22.2 seconds. You can change all tyres in that time, can't you?
Yes, you can. The problem is now is that he could well end up having one more pit stop than everyone else, and that is punishing. That takes a lot of picking up. But as the race evolves, as conditions change, we could see other waypoints where Alex could make the right call and get himself right back in contention. This is a whole different way of going endurance racing on the iRacing platform. Is riding with Jamie Rushworth, and right in front, Axel Slipchevich has the mother and father of all moments there and hangs on to it well.
Yeah, the cars are moving about a lot on these incremental situations right now, and they're on that they're on that threshold of it basically being a little bit too dry for these wet tyres fully, so that they're going to be overheating them slightly. But as the track then becomes wetter, that's when they will then become better. And Blackhall just got absolutely dumped by that Audi, straight into the rear quarter panel, and around he goes.
Yeah, that was a pretty textbook stock car dump, wasn't it? Yeah, that's unfortunate. And it doesn't need a great deal of persuasion to the rear of the car in front, and round they go in these conditions. So you've got to be careful, because the stewards have shown since round one that if you drive too aggressively, if you cause incidents, it will be punished. So it's definitely something the drivers have got to watch, because if you're too aggressive and you rack up penalties, it makes it very difficult to win this championship.
As there goes one of the KRD cars, that's Jamie Rushworth and Axel Slijepčević, after starting up towards the front of the field. Oh no, sorry, he was further back in the field with Slijepčević. It's his teammate Denis Grabowski who started up on the front, on the third row of the grid. He then dropped back a little bit, and that just has cost him early on in this race. Andy Archer and Nathan Healy have had to take to pit road to get fast repairs done to their cars, so not a good start for either of those two. But at the moment, as things stand, Alex Davidson, that gap has closed up at the front. It's now under half a second between first and second place. Ross McFarlane in second. Gabriel Delay, who made himself known to the championship last week, he is in third ahead of Josh Thompson. And then it's Ethan Critchley leading a group of Bume, of Wolfson, of Grabowski, Evdoka and Sedgwick down to 10th place. But look down the hangar straight, there's little gaps forming here at the front of the field, Peter.
There is, but the result is the same. Last week we had Alex Davidson leading out the front in the blistering sunshine of Portimao. Now we have the typically British summertime at Silverstone with some precipitation, and the result is the same. Totally different conditions, totally different circuit, and Alex Davidson, your championship leader, is out front with his teammate Ross McFarlane getting his championship campaign underway after not racing last week. Yeah,
he was missing from the start of the season. Ross McFarlane, of course, four-time champion here in the World GT Championship, and he is somebody who knows how to win a championship. But in recent seasons, there's been a number of drivers who have come on board and come into the series and really stepped up to the plate and challenged. People like James Bume, like Jack Sedgwick last season, having a tremendous season, finally getting that monkey off his back of being able to put a season together. And it's not all been plain sailing for Ross. He's really had to try and fight to continue to be in those championship battles.
He has, yeah, he really has. Ross McFarlane, he's just an ever-present threat in the World GT Championship. Switching to the Porsche along with his WSR Esports colleagues this season. Ran in the Lamborghini last season, which really was tough. Again, the straight line speed was very hard to live with the Ferraris of Bume and of Jack Sedgwick, the eventual champion. But it seems that WSR Esports have got it right in the car choice for this season. I mean, in the dry conditions in Portimao last week, they were really, really strong, and now in these wet conditions at Silverstone, really, really strong as well. That is absolutely taking nothing away from the driver skill. You still need the fast drivers you can have the best car you want. I tell you, if you put me in one of those Porsches, I'm at the back. So don't get me wrong, you have to have the drivers to go and do the job, but clearly they've made a very good decision.
Yeah, they certainly have, and they've got that car dialed in. And this Porsche has been around for a little while now here on iRacing. This is what, its third or fourth iRacing season? I can't remember exactly when it got launched, the 911 GT3R.
Well, the car itself debuted at Daytona in January 2023. And it wasn't a huge amount longer than that before it arrived on iRacing. Maybe another 3 or 4 months or so. So yeah, probably for season 2, 2023. So yeah, about a year and a bit. Yeah.
So drivers have been able to get used to the car and be able to know what its foibles. You know, it's as you keep on mentioning. You mentioned it last week at Portimao. Unbelievable on its brakes is that Porsche. Absolutely sensational. And it's really got a stable base which helps you with that braking. You've not got the back end sort of twitching out on you and things like that, so you can be really positive on the brakes. On a race like today, though, where you've got mixed conditions, it's surely got to help you having that bit of confidence knowing that the car's going to be more stable than, say, the Audi, for example.
I think it's critical. Yeah, I mean, historically, Porsches have been very, very good wet weather cars, particularly on out-of-corner traction. Having the engine over the rear wheels is really, really helpful to get that traction. And we heard that from some of the drivers, particularly Josh Thompson, who came to join us after the race and said that the Ferrari, the heavily turbocharged Ferrari, don't forget, was really struggling to get the power down out the corners, and the Porsches were just driving away with their naturally aspirated engine and rear engine bias. Johnny Walker ending up in a spin there, and well, that just shows you don't mix whiskey with too much water. just a little tinkle, just to break the bead.
I mean, I don't drink, and yet I know you just give it a little bit, just to bring out the flavour of it, don't you?
Exactly. You're a well-read man.
Like I say, I don't drink, but I know about it. Here's the battle for 21st then. Eric Rousseff in that Ford Mustang with its 17-yard long bonnet, and I think that helped assist Jonathan Walker around in that situation. He's got Alessandro Toccio in the Lamborghini. Nick Kirsten's making moves down the inside there, so that's through on his Ferrari 296 GT3. Adam Watson, Baker Zelenka, Ben Altria, Jake Blackhall, who's recovering in this race, and Jack Osborne, all involved up there in this little queue of cars. And Ethan Critchley, we're getting a replay of him, so something must have happened.
It's like a slow down penalty. That's more than a slow down penalty.
It might well be a slow down penalty. Oh no, he's had a technical problem, and then he's going to come back. So he's had something just momentarily. Just have a problem, and to be fair to him, pulled out of the way, did it nice and safely, waited for it to sort itself out, and then get back up to speed again.
Maybe he needed to change his in-rig toilet roll. Of course, he's well known for having his team toilet roll behind him, just in case he gets the sniffles halfway through the race. He's
gone back to the pits. He's out. No. I wonder if he's got a hardware problem or something like that.
That's too. We saw that with Jack Sedgwick,
yep.
had an issue with his PC last week. So that's two big names in 2 weeks who have had technical issues out of their own control. That's really, really frustrating.
It certainly is. Adam Watson, speaking of frustrating, he's had a frustrating start to the season. Takes to the curbing. He's forced wide, and contact. He was braking on the curb. He's made contact with the car to the inside. Oh dear! I'll hold your brakes. That's right at Copse Corner. Get it out the way there. But Nick Kirsten's found out the hard way that Adam can sometimes be a bit too forceful with his moves.
I did wonder what Adam Watson we were going to get this season. Were we going to get last season's Pro-Am champion, methodical, professional, balanced Adam Watson, or were we going to get this?
Well, to be fair,
he lights up on the curb, yeah.
Yeah, he's hit the brakes, and it's just he's on the curbing, so he's always. But hold your brakes. I don't like that when you're on the exit of Copse Corner, one of the fastest corners on the track, in wet conditions. Yeah, but it wasn't very clever from Adam either, it must be said. Track is lightly wet, officially.
That is
we can see that.
being generous.
So here's Adam. He's on the curb, and yeah, he's hit the brakes. The back end's gone round.
Oof, was lucky enough to get how he didn't get collected by one or two other cars there. I'll never know.
That does not get the Connery Maddock award for best rejoin in the world.
No, but I think it was all happening so fast that he was just trying to keep the car out the barrier there. But anyway, yes, it appears that it's always going to be worth having one eye on what's going on with Adam Watson. It's always exciting, that's for sure. It's never boring with Adam. That's one thing why we love having him in the championship. Is he always, for us in the TV business, he's fantastic.
Do you know, it's nice to see Mark Fletcher getting his race gloves back out of the cupboard and getting himself back into the series. Adam Locke is now just showing us a yellow flag on the Wellington Straight, so something's happened to Adam out there. But yeah, Mark Fletcher, it's great to see the Altitude Esports boss out there on track again. Last season he was a very, very nervous watcher on, but it's great to see him back here now. We've got cars going side by side into Maggots and Beckett's. One of the most impressive sights I have ever seen in my life was when I went to the Saturday qualifying day. So this tells you how long ago it was. Saturday qualifying day, as Watson's nearly losing it again, of the 1995 British Grand Prix. It was morning warm-up. It had been damp that morning. Everyone was braking into... Oh, Watson has gone again. Oh, into Stir this time. Tried to send it down the outside. Gets going again. I think he needs to just have a word from his team boss in his ear and say, right, come on, calm down. You're getting a bit too excited here.
It's the sort of thing the moments of brilliance are always there. They always appear. But it's, in order to have the moments of brilliance, you can get certain little issues here and there. So I do agree with you, Paul. I think it's I'm sure it just needs a little bit cool. I was going to say pour cold water on him, but we tried that and it's clearly not worked.
I can tell you, thank you very much to Ethan.
Oh, here he goes again.
Ethan Critchley getting in touch with me via my stream on Twitch. His upshifts broke, so he couldn't change up gears.
I could just put it in automatic. Can you do that? And I think you can in iRacing. You can just switch it, put it into automatic.
You'd need to map another button, I think, or something like that to properly do it, to be quick. But the drivers out there are finding the limit and then some. The leaders have had a little bit of separation, and they have separated away from Gabriel Erdelai, who made himself known to the championship last week in race 2. As there goes Josh Thompson down the inside into Stir. But watch that Porsche on corner exit, get the power down a bit easier.
Josh Thompson is driving beautifully here. He mentioned to us at Portimao last week, he said, the hugely excessive track temperatures made getting the Ferrari out of a corner very, very difficult. The tyre just overheating, no traction at all. It was like driving on jelly at times. He said he thinks the cooler temperatures are going to suit the car. Now, we've certainly got cooler temperatures. Wet, we didn't discuss whether the car is good in the wet or the dry, but certainly he's driving very, very well up onto the podium place and mixing it up with those WSR Porsches as Michael Gray takes the scenic route through the rallycross course. That didn't exist until now.
Yeah, exactly. It's a very expensive lawnmower as an Audi. I found that out at Monza last year, speaking to the team boss, and I said, how do you feel about your drivers turning your very expensive car into a lawnmower? And she wasn't best pleased, let's just say that. And this is what had happened to Adam Locke, and it just lit up on the curb, on the corner exit, and into the wall. Kimi Raikkonen's wall, that is, from 2014.
Well, there's a few drivers coming a cropper in the conditions. It's not easy. You just see with the body language of the cars squirreling around. Normally the GT cars in regular dry conditions, they hook up and they go. They've got a lot of traction and they can put their power down well. But in the wet, it's a totally different story. And they say rain is the great leveler, but they also say cream rises to the top. There's two to take off your bingo card nice and early on in the game. But because at the end, Alex Davidson's still your leader by 1.5 seconds from his teammate, and then it's another 2.5 seconds back to Thompson. So our dominant car, or cars from Portimao, just the same in a wet Silverstone. Yeah,
they certainly are. It's a big gap between second and third, although Thompson last lap was about 0.6 of a second. There's a slow-mo replay of Adam Watson losing it at Stowe. And yeah, he is lapping quicker now, is Josh. So now that he's been able to get ahead of Gabriel in the 77 WSR eSports car, he's able to use that Ferrari and use its advantages. And as he said, cooler weather will be helping him, that's for sure, in that Ferrari. I actually don't think it's too bad, is that Ferrari in the wet. I think it's all right, is that Ferrari, especially with the size of the diffuser that car's got. My goodness. And James Boumet making moves up into 4th place. So Gabriel Erdelai, I think he might be just struggling a little bit with the track just getting wetter and wetter.
Interesting there with Boumet going off the... It's not a dry line, but going onto the wetter part of the circuit there. That's interesting from Boumet. Maybe just trying to keep the tyre in its operating window. It can... Oh, Slipchevich. That shows you how well iRacing have done with this wet weather simulation, because if you put full power on a GT3 car and you get onto a painted curb, that is exactly the result. Off you go. So you have to stay off those curbs.
I don't know if we can, I mean we can bring it up, but the weather radar, I'm looking at the weather radar on my end, and we've got a patch of clear weather coming soon. So you can see on the weather radar, we're right just getting towards the middle of this heavier rain, but then we've got a big empty patch behind it coming through. So we could have yet more twists and turns in this race here for these conditions. But as things stand right now, Alex Davidson leading this race by nearly 2 seconds over his teammate of Ross McFarlane, with Josh Thompson in 3rd place. Your top pro-am, Jamie Rushworth, he is in 12th place overall, ahead of Joe Newman, who is 14th overall. Michael Gray, 17th after his excursion across the runoff down the Maggots and Beckett section of the track. And then your top AM driver is going to be Rhys Saunders again. I mean, what a star last time out, Peter, at Portimao. Rhys Saunders. I think the series admins are going to be maybe looking at his speed and going, do you know what? I think you're a pro-am.
Oh, I mean, maybe he's the Thierry Neuville of World GT, because he's gone too early. He's gone too early. He's like, hide your pace a bit, Rhys. Play the game. No, we're kidding. It's fantastic. I mean, to be honest though, in general, 15th, 16th overall, I would say that's where you would expect to see the top AM driver. You'd see the top pro-am driver sort of mixing it in just around the top, just either side of the top 10. The best AM drivers sort of between 15th and 20th. So I don't think it's miles off, Paul. I just think he's just doing a really good job. Really impressive so far and managing it well. And really don't forget there is a long way left in this race. If we get weather all the way through for the next 76 minutes, there's plenty that can play out, as Thomas Ashbog has just brilliantly demonstrated it. Although I am getting word, Paul, the virtual Milton Keynes, there is a drying line on one of the 536 roundabouts. That's only 20 miles down the road.
Yes, that is true. Oh my goodness. Have you had the pleasure of driving through Milton Keynes?
Several times. I don't know if pleasure would be the word that I would use, but there we go.
Oh, Nick Kirsten's found one of the puddles on the exit curb at Copse Corner, and that's going to be some of the problems as it is getting wetter. The rain's not falling hard, it's just that it's constant as Thomas Ashbog once again goes for a spin. That's on the exit of Club Corner. The rain's not raining hard, but it's a persistent rain. The type of rain that you only get at Silverstone pretty much the entirety of the year. As Ben Altria finds the runoff. Oh my goodness! He lost it going into Copse Corner on the inside line. How on earth has he managed that?
I'm not exactly sure. Not exactly sure.
Is it a puddle?
He's hit a puddle that happened to be on a white painted line. Oh, that's so unlucky. Well, I say it's unlucky. It just shows how difficult it is in the wet. You've got to be so sharp. The drivers, when they're finished this race, they are going to be emotionally, mentally exhausted, because it's so much higher focus level than in the dry. Oh my word, that was close.
And that was Adam Watson that he namely wiped out. So for once, Adam was an innocent party in that and nearly got wiped out there.
And he's going, oh, would you calm down? Behave.
No, Adam's there going, oh, yeah, I've been there, done that. Here we go. Here's Adam Watson's look from his point of view. And yeah, just gets out of it. Whoa! Across the nose of his car. And I think... yes, yeah, no, he's not a Peugeot driver. As he's going through there, but my goodness, this is. I mean, to be fair to the drivers, it is unbelievably tricky. And when you've got, well, I mean, we started with 54 cars out there. It's a big field. You've got a big mix of driver ability out there. That's the whole reason why we've got the different Pro-Am and Am categories. And it's showing who can deal with those wet conditions and who's had the more practice in the wet conditions as well. That can be a key.
I think that is a great point, Paul. Because the wet weather is such a new feature to iRacing that the level of track time for certain drivers there'll be a big disparity between them. Alex Gall trying to make up time after having to pit early on, we believe, for a change of tyres, and Harry Langford showing us just asking for the power of that twin turbocharged straight six BMW and having to really put constant movement into that Fanatec steering wheel to try and keep the thing on the island.
And we always think of this BMW as being a big lumbering thing that maybe understeers a little bit, but you see how twitchy it is on corner exit. I mean, I give a tip of my hat to these drivers here. They are okay. The lap times. I mean, I'm looking at the leaders' lap times. They're only about 2.5 seconds off of the lap times from the start of the race.
That's impressive. That's really impressive. And Alex Davidson has grown the gap to his teammate to 3.1 seconds, who his teammate Ross McFarlane, who is in turn under big pressure now from Josh Thompson. So we're going to get a McFarlane versus Thompson showdown now for second place. It's game on. It's Kirsten's massive moment there as Gal trying to get through as they come down into Club Chicane. The two Ferraris asking for the power from that 2.9 litre V6, and the rear just steps out when that turbo kicks in. It's really challenging for the drivers. Every corner is a bucking Bronco ride.
Would you prefer to actually have a naturally aspirated engine right now?
150% I would want a naturally aspirated engine, yes. Just that...
Audi, Mercedes, Lamborghini... Porsche.
I think a Porsche would be the car I'd want to be in right now, or the Corvette actually. Corvette, Corvette would work too. I think the turbocharged cars, they're having to sing for their supper here big time, because the way that the power comes in, it can be a bit more spiky and fine in the dry, but in these conditions it's tough.
They earn their keep, that is for sure, to these drivers driving those cars in particular in these conditions.
The first turbocharged car is Josh Thompson, so it takes a World Championship level driver from one of the top teams in sim racing to wrestle a turbocharged car onto the podium right now. That tells you everything.
Oh, as John Newman in the Atomic Esports Evo Lamborghini, he's been having issues in Beckett's. I'm going to finish my story from earlier on, Peter, because Adam Watson rudely went and interrupted me as he would see the replay. A Porsche, the KRD car, going off into the midfield of Beckett's, and then Joe Newman finds the tyre barrier there, unfortunately for him. But one of the most impressive sights I have ever seen in life is Josh Thompson using that wet line around the outside of Village. Nice move there on Ross McFarlane. He's doing a job there in that Ferrari. He's getting the most out of that car. But yeah, 1995 Saturday qualifying. It was the morning warm-up. I mean, you don't get them anymore now in Formula 1. And it'd been damp. It was dry-ish, and drivers were braking going into Maggots and Beckett. And then came along a certain Frenchman called Jean Alesi in a Ferrari 412 T2, the last of the V12 Ferraris, screaming flat out through Maggots into Beckett's, and it was like, as 11-year-old me was like, okay, yeah, this is why I love motorsport.
Did you discover things about yourself after that one, Paul, at about that age? Were you like, haven't felt that before?
As Phil Samways is finding his way through some of the grass there at the exit of Stowe Corner.
Although
it was an unbelievable sight.
Although, and sound as well, not the Ferrari V12. I mean, I tell you what though, that 412T F1 car is a great way to get some development mileage on that engine for its ultimate destination, the 333 sports car, the 333 SP, one of the coolest cars ever built. So yeah, they developed the engine in Formula 1 and then really got the best out of it in sports car racing.
Now there's the Corvette.
That was a joke, by the way, before you jumped down my throat.
The Corvette going around the outside, Mike Horder, he's doing a good job in that car. He's in 27th place. We've got a car going off into the runoff. This is the other problem with the wet conditions and with the spray. We don't always see, as an Audi decided to head off into the runoff at Copse. You don't always see on the panning shots where the cars are. But at least we're not the drivers having to deal with that spray in our windscreens.
And that's such a difficult part, is when you're going along the straight, and the faster you're going, the more spray that's coming up from the car ahead, and just trying to pick your braking point, pick your line is really, really tough. This is, make no mistake, this is super challenging. Ross McFarlane is going backwards here. So he is going backwards. Boumet in the Audi has gone past into third now. So McFarlane is down to fourth. And we, again, in totally different conditions at Portimao, we did see the Porsches going backwards a bit more later on in the stint. So is it that those WSR esports cars, do they have their strongest pace on a full tank? And when the fuel comes off, does the pace disappear at that point?
As Adam Watson at Club Corner, he's going to bin this all himself, finds the puddle. Oh, hold your brakes. Yep, now you see, he held his brakes and drivers knew exactly where he was so they could take avoiding action. I want to point out as well, Gabriel Erdelai, you think he was in the top 3 about 25 minutes ago. He's now down to 8th. In that Porsche, that WSR Esports butt kicker Porsche. He's just lost a position to Jack Sedgwick through all of this. So he's had James Boumet, Victor Volson, Dennis Grabowski, Jack Sedgwick all go past him. I think you're right, Peter. As the stint goes on, that Porsche just seems to be losing that little bit of performance.
I wonder what it is. Because it's fast in qualifying, but then again, you put a different setup in for qualifying. So maybe the way that they get the best ultimate pace out of the car is that the way the setup works with the ride height and etc. It maybe just gets everything working well in that early stage, and by that point you've got a decent lead anyway, and then it maybe drops off later in the stint. Obviously the exception to that rule is Alex Davidson. He doesn't appear to be having the same drop off that his teammates are.
Now, is that a case of Alex Davidson being a bit of a bring the tyres in guy at the start of the race so that he then has that performance later on, or is it just a case of he seems to be at one with this Porsche as Agard? That's I think we're going to be seeing plenty more of that in this race.
Yeah, definitely. He won't be the first or the last. And yeah, I think it's the latter, Paul. I think Alex Davidson has just clicked with the Porsche, and then everything flows through. If that car is it's like a fitted suit around you. You just feel you can do whatever you need to do with it, and you know what it's telling you when the tire's going off, when you need to look after it, when you can push. And he just clearly clicked with the car so quickly. And remember, Alex Davidson, he's been thereabouts for so many seasons, but never really got the ultimate results that he maybe feels he deserves. This is his best chance. I feel like this is deja vu around this time. Said this is Jack Sedgwick's best chance to win the World GT Championship, and he did an amazing job to close it off. It's way too early to call a champion, of course it is, but Alex Davidson has really come out the blocks with his strongest start to a season.
Can I just point out, as Joe Newman's picked up a black flag whilst he's been on pit road, so he's going to have to serve a drive-through penalty, so that'll be either a speeding on pit lane or a caught on pit exit going over the white line before you're allowed to. Josh Thompson, last lap, was an entire second quicker than Alex Davidson. So Davidson has maybe had a moment out there. He's not near any... actually, he has had a little bit of traffic, the 777 of Peter Herschel. So maybe that has come into play a little bit. But, an entire second lost on the previous lap. Well,
so is Josh Thompson in the mix. He said the cooler temperatures would work. I don't know if he was quite getting at these wet conditions, but nevertheless, he can now just about see Alex Davidson in the distance and can think, right, I'm going to get down to business. He's going to come up across that red Ferrari that Davidson's just had to contend with, so it might well equal back out again. But we have a race on at the front here between the WSR Porsche of Alex Davidson and the Ferrari of Josh Thompson. Absolutely tantalising. And the thing is as well, Paul, usually in the rain you don't use as much fuel, so that might adjust the way that the strategy will work. With 73%, you're going to be between 40 and 45 minutes depending how hard you push. So, and with an hour and 45 minute race, it's not going to make a difference of how many stops you take, but we might well see this first stint much longer than normal.
Well, this is the first season as well where they've actually changed to the regulations. There's not actually mandated pit stops in terms of you must take X amount of pit stops. However, as you quite rightly say, the fuel cells are limited to 73%. So you're effectively going to be taking 2 pit stops in the race anyway. It's just that it's no longer mandated in the regulations.
Yeah, and I think it doesn't need to be, because there is no way of making a difference. It's not as if it's on the borderline and you can either go in a big fuel save and try and save a stop, or go full push and take a quick splash and dash. So but if you can keep a good pace and use less fuel, that's always going to be to your benefit. Benny, the pace car driver in the 911 GT3 Touring, keeping himself warm with a wiper going. Hopefully he's tuned in to RaceSpot FM.
Radio RaceSpot, yeah, there he is. Just sat there patiently. We've not needed him this season so far.
Sunglasses are excessive.
Yes, Dennis Grabowski. Well, Ross McFarlane's lost a place to Victor Wolfson here on this lap, and Dennis Grabowski, I mean, you don't need to ask him twice to make a move. Oh, as that Audi goes out onto that painted surface on the exit of Club. That wouldn't be my choice of line, especially in the Audi, even though it is a little bit more stable nowadays than it used to be.
Yeah, I wouldn't be doing that either. Yeah, definitely not. I tell you what, Benny the pace car driver must have an amazing amount of air miles. He's got to be on platinum status with all kinds of virtual airlines, especially that. Well, maybe he's got his own jet, like that one that does 500 miles an hour into Daytona. That's how he's able to travel around so much.
There he is, patiently waiting away. We go back to this race though, as Ross McFarlane, you can see visibly just how much time he's losing to the Ferrari in front of him of Victor Wolfson, and then it's Grabowski in the Audi now, right on his tail, and he's going to be giving it some. He'll be trying his best to get past, but Ross is still not easy to get past, even if he is having a little bit of issues out there with the Porsche. We are due pit stops sometime soon. I mean, Paul Webster has just come in the previous lap. You reckon about 45 minutes, don't you, with that fuel cell? Well, we're at that 45-minute spot right now.
Okay, so there's maybe going to go even further than that then. So that just shows you just how much you save in those wet conditions, just not using anywhere near as much throttle through a lap. Oh, that's messy. Bacon Zelenka wanting to get his own back on one of the other porkers out there.
Just wanting to give him the chop. Thank you, I'm here all week.
You've trotted that one out a few times.
Oh, here we go. As down the inside, Josh Boot in that Atomic Esports Evo car, but the Audi, the Evo, it's Evo 2, isn't it now? This or is it? Yeah, it's the Evo 2. Yes, that Audi hanging it out around the outside, and different lines show different speeds in these conditions, different grip levels as well, and it's not always the best thing to be on that traditional dry racing line in these conditions.
Fantastic side-by-side stuff though, going through Maggots, Beckett's, Chapel side by side in the wet. We're about to go 3 wide down the down the hangar straight. Yeah.
We can pretty much guarantee that. Oh, we're 3 wide, yes please.
He wakes up and chooses violence every single day.
On a racetrack, yes.
On a racetrack, yes, exactly. He's very
I thought there was going to be a nice cutback then from Josh Boot, but here comes Adam Watson down the inside. Oh, that's chopping the nose off into the Audi squirrely on corner exit, and the KRD Porsche right in there of Andy Scheel, series organiser, back on the grid this season. Well, he's finding himself in all the exciting bit.
They get through just about after all that. Very exciting. Andy Scheel. Oh, now who's that? Oh,
no, it's Zelenka. My apologies.
Oh dear.
It is an Atomic Esports car, so teammate of Adam Watson.
Altitude Esports.
Esports. Oh no, that's going to be a big one. And that's Michael Gray. That's huge. After such a good week last week for Michael Gray, finds the wall down the Wellington Straight.
Yeah, so easy done though. It's just need the tiniest little mistake, and the consequences are huge, absolutely huge there. So I mean, let's have a look. I mean, Michael Gray is just a couple of wheels on that wet curb and round he went.
I'll tell you something, we did just momentarily have a brief spot where it wasn't raining. It started raining again now, but for a momentary time it had stopped raining. So drivers, make the most of it what they can, but you see right here, Maggots and Beckett's, it's actually quite bright, but as you go down the Hangar Straight, there you can see it on the weather map actually. It's coming in from Club and Stir.
Paul, you know how I said, oh, there's no way you can get home on just one stop? Can we edit that bit out? Oh, we're live, aren't we? Oh dear. Doing the maths, how long have we been going for? Nearly 50 minutes we've been going for, and the leading cars are still going. So if they could go another couple of laps, there's a chance that they could get home on one stop. So such is the difference of the fuel consumption in the rain, that it might be that you could get home on one stop.
A couple of drivers are onto pit road, though. Mike Horder, Chris Chadderton, Alessandro Toccio, who's actually been sat there for nearly 30 seconds. He's going to be going now. Richard Simner, Harry Langford, and Jonathan Walker, all onto pit road for a pit stop here and a service. Fresh tyres, and because it's now moderately wet officially in session, it just means that you get a chance to put some fresh boots on the car. If they'd have maybe been overheated at the start of the stint, you're getting a little bit extra grip now.
Oh, huge difference. I mean, if you're going off 50-minute old wet tyres onto fresh ones, just the groove, the cuts and the grooves, you just got more grooves there to be able, more tread to be able to clear the standing water and to clear the rain out of the way, and you get as well, you get a little bit more movement in the block too, so you definitely get really good grip from new tyres. But I think if Ross McFarlane into the pits after 50 minutes of racing, so he's probably just not quite there to be able to make it home on just one stop, but everybody else goes round again. Davidson, Boumé, Thompson, Wolfson, Grabowski, etc. That would then put them around 52 minutes to go, which is near enough half race distance. So there are a lot of drivers who could get home on just one stop.
One thing we haven't mentioned is how Josh Thompson has actually lost second place to James Boumé. Boumé is up 5 places from where he started in this race right now, and that Audi is on a bit of a charge right now, I would have to say. Lap times are only about they're at the 2 second mark. 2.5 for just under 2 seconds for James Boumé, difference from when we first started. So they're keeping a good pace out there, considering that the conditions are so bad, and in fact it is starting to rain even harder now out there on track. So now is probably the best time to be on those new wets. But for fuel wise, Peter, I think this lap you might just be able to make it to the end.
I agree. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. And I think that's why Josh Thompson's backed out of it. He's gone into a more conservative mode, if you like, of driving. He's gone, wait a minute, we can get home here on one stop, so let's go fuel save big time. Or that's maybe been the plan all along, is to hit a certain fuel number, knowing that it is actually possible. It's not possible in the dry, but it is possible in the wet, because you're not on the throttle for anywhere near as much. Let's listen. That was a bit of fuel saving and a bit of having a bit of a moment as well. That was a bit of both.
Davidson, Thompson onto pit road. James Boumé, he's always been good with fuel saving as James, hasn't he? So he stayed out another lap here. The rest of them all coming onto pit road for a bit of a pit party. Get the umbrellas out, chaps, for your pit crew, because it's a bit moist down there for them. Davidson, Thompson, Wolfson, Grabowski, Sedgwick, Erdely, Evdoka, Jensen and Fletcher all onto pit road. I expect to see Mendes Meyer come onto pit road, Reece Saunders, Nathan Moore. I think they're all going to be coming onto pit road now.
James Boumé could have played a blinder here, because the Erdely, Davison, Thompson, Grabowski, etc. I think they can do it too, but it's a lot more borderline in terms of getting round with just one pit stop. Bume is now in actually a comfortable position where he should be able to get to the end of the race with just one stop quite comfortably. So let's see. But Bume being heavy on the fuel save, he could have played an absolute peach here. We were excited for so long about Rain coming to the iRacing platform, and boy is it delivering. It just adds a whole new element. It's not even a new element, the whole approach to an endurance race is just completely different now.
Will Chadwick joining us in the YouTube chat saying warm tyres versus cold should see James overcut. So there we go, there's a bit of knowledge from our commentating colleague. Thank you very much, Will, who I thought actually, I did 3 hours with him on the Spa 24 Hours. I think the whole team on that Spa 24 did such a good job on the broadcast, but the insight that Will brought from his testing that he'd been doing of trying out all the different cars, not just in the dry but in the wet, just brought something extra to the broadcast. So pleasure to have you watching as here comes Bume onto pit road. Then it's a slower pit lane speed limit than you would normally get at a track like this. I mean, it's 80 kilometers. Actually, no, that's actually normal speed for a Grand Prix track like this on iRacing. But in the real world, in Formula 1, they actually slowed down the pit lane speed limit here because you cut so much of that last corner and then in the first corner.
You do save a little bit of time. Interestingly, both cars that have gone the longest are altitude setup Audis. Is there something in that? Is the Audi's... this is something I don't think you'll say very often. Is the 5.2 litre V10 frugal?
Well, we used to say that the Porsche was the frugal car, didn't we?
Yes.
With our useful top tips here involved.
Good consumer advice, yeah.
Yes,
well, it can't possibly reach the both performance and economical targets that the Fiat Panda mild hybrid can. Brian the Panda, lifting and coasting, the amount of regen would make a Porsche 919 shiver in its boots.
As Davidson did come out back into the lead, it's 2.3 seconds is the lead, and that's what happens when you try and go side by side through Maggots and Beckett's and you just don't quite leave enough room. Now, I'm not necessarily saying that's their fault for Chris Chatterton. It could well be that they've just hit a little bit of a puddle or something and it's forced them into the side of the car.
So no overcut for Bume. He's 2.6 seconds behind on Davidson right now. He's ahead of Josh Thompson. So they're sort of as they were. I think the big difference is that Davidson and Thompson, etc., they will all have to do quite a lot of fuel saving to get to the end without another stop, whereas Bume might be able to go a little bit harder and not have to fuel save as much. So let's see. That's a replay of the Chatterton. He did get pinched down a fraction, maybe you could say.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that, Peter. The view from above, I'm amazed that our helicopter has been allowed to take off in this weather with the amount of cloud cover that there is around here right now. But yeah, that overhead shot did just give us that little bit of a sight of that little bit of a pinch move in towards the first part of Beckett's. Now, one thing that we are looking at is a group of cars here together. We're all going through turn one. So this is Anders Meyer, Rhys Saunders, Nathan Moore. There's Jamie Rushworth involved in there and Paul Webster as well. Webster's up 10 places, it must be said in this. So too is Saunders. Saunders, again, an AM driver, is in 13th. He is putting out some performances here for us in this one.
So impressive. Yeah, so impressive for Rhys Saunders. Qualified 23rd up to 13th. I'm going to try and drag this one home and get another win on the board for the AM category. Quite amazing start to the season. and get those points on the board early. But even if you do get put up to Pro-Am, you've still got the same points. So, you know, it could be that you could start the season in Am and still win the Pro-Am Championship.
They'd have to do a little bit of adjustment in terms of fastest lap bonus points, because there's a fastest lap per class. But other than that, yeah, you keep the points that you're on. So, yeah, absolutely. We have got Black Solar in the YouTube chat. Needs more rain for the full British experience. No, I think this is the perfect British experience. Persistent rain. It's not heavy rain. It's not a thunderstorm. It's just persistent rain. And look at that. There's even patches of blue up there as well. That's about right for Britain at this time of year.
This really is a truly British simulation. And also, when you knew that rain was truly confirmed, there was lots of rumours for so long, but you knew that rain was truly confirmed when Knock Hill was scanned and released on the iRacing platform, because really you can't have one without the other.
Hey, I tell you what, if you ever need somebody to give you a weather forecast at Knock Hill, I would like to put my hand forward for that one, because I called that when we were up there last year.
You did?
I absolutely called it. And what a race it produced as well.
It was the race of the season, the Scottish Mod Sports Race 2. I'll never forget that. That was some cracker. In fact, actually, it lives on. It was on the TCR UK stream. So yeah, go back. Last year's TCR UK at Knock Hill. Go right to the very end of the last day, the last half an hour or so. One of the most bonkers motor races I've ever commentated on.
Radicals versus Subarus versus Honda Civics, all racing at the front in damp conditions on slick tyres. It was brilliant, was that. Absolutely sensational stuff. As we're about to go 3 maybe down into Stowe, I think somebody took a sensible pill then. I think that was Anders Meyer thinking, do you know what, let's not do that. But he's trying to get that big old Ford around the outside, and he's doing a good job of it right now.
Well, you know how ground effects are not allowed in GT3? Does that mean it's a flatbed Ford?
Oh, could you imagine a F-150 around
GT3. F-150 GT3. It's an even bigger rear wing on it.
No, you just put it for low drag configuration. You just pull down the bed lid.
Yeah, adjustable aero. Well, that's banned in GT3 as well. Triple eight at Paul Webster. That's lucky in certain parts of the world, and certainly was there. That was nearly a biggie.
And this is for the Pro-Am lead as well. Paul Webster ducking to the inside on the exit loop into Aintree. It pinches up there through Aintree, and Paul decided to back out of it. But Jamie Rushworth, Paul Webster, this is going to be a fight for Pro-Am all the way through this season, I feel, because Rushworth has... I think last season in Pro-Am he was very unlucky. He seemed to get involved in incidents all the way through the season. I think that hampered his ability to fight for the championship. Paul Webster, again, he was one of those where got involved in 1 or 2 incidents through the season, just cost him the chance of fighting for a Pro-Am championship.
So 43 minutes to go, and the rain continuing to batter down here at Silverstone. Lee King McGee, just getting it. It's carrying that tiny bit too much speed, but you're walking such a tightrope in the wet. It's so easy to make that error. It might look clumsy, it might look a bit ham-fisted, but so synchronized skating there from the sort of Falcon livery-esque BMWs.
That was Ben Bennyworth then finding the levels of adhesion and finding in his Quartermass Motorsport car with his teammate in front. I think it was Harry Langford, I think, potentially, that was doing that with him. It was synchronised from teammates, but the old Ronism was coming out. It was suboptimal, as down the inside Nathan Moore on Jamie Rushworth, and Paul Webster is loitering with intent in his Audi. His Audi R8, it's a venerable car, is that? It must be said. It's it's getting on in years now, and you mentioned it last week, Peter. You can't order a new one anymore.
No, you can't. It's a shame. It's because GT3. There's a few cars that have defined the growth of GT3. The Audi is definitely one of them. You look at all those major race victories through in the last decade and a bit or so. It's Audi GT3s have always been up there. The Mercedes you would throw in there as well, and definitely. Of course various iterations of the Porsche. So there definitely are being some stalwart brands, stalwart cars. But yeah, the Audi R8 has been right up there, and sometimes you wonder, have they sold more Audi R8 racing cars than road cars? The same for the Mercedes AMG GT. That might sound silly, but there are just so many of these cars out there.
Yeah, and it's incredible how the different cars, the different shapes, how the different concepts of how they go about racing as well. I mean, you look at it, you've got the front-engined BMWs, Mercedes, now the new Ford Mustang as well. The Corvette, that's front-engined. No, that's mid-engined, isn't it?
The old one was front, yeah. Yeah,
the old one was front, yeah. So, you've got the front-engine brigade who you kind of think, well, that's not really the optimal way of going about things, but they've been really successful with that. You've got the mid-engine success of the Audis, of cars like that, and then of course you've got Porsche who go, forget front and mid-engine, sling the engine right over the rear axle. That's how you go racing.
Yeah, it's a time-honoured recipe since 1948. Porsche using that configuration in various cars. Alex Davidson, he is under pressure now. Boumé was very good late on in the first stint, and remember he's pitted a lap later than Davidson, so he's got more fuel in the tank and doesn't have to fuel save as much to get to the end of the race without taking that extra pit stop. Big moment though for Boumé coming out the corner there, and big old wiggle as he asked for the power. Davidson traction out the corner anyway for the Porsche, not a problem.
I will say part of the reason why Boumé did come out with that 3 second gap, that 2.5-3 second gap when he came out the pits, was he was actually about a second and a half longer in the box taking fuel, because of course he'd gone a lap longer, so he had less fuel already in that fuel cell, and that meant that then he could fill it right up to the brim and have a lap less to do in this race, but have a full fuel tank as well at the same time.
Yeah, very interesting. So Josh Thompson in there too, so we've got a real battle on now. So 3 manufacturers in at the top 3: Davidson, Boumé, Thompson. This is what World GT is all about. Into the club chicane, then Boumé is going to try and make a move. Bangs wheels, wheel-to-wheel contact then between Davidson and Boumé. And I tell you what, Paul, you don't want to be making that contact wheel-to-wheel. You can bend steering and all sorts.
And here comes Thompson. He's taken advantage. He sat back, waited to see those two go at it, and has said, thank you very much, James. I'll take second place back, and now focus forward on Alex Davidson in front of me. This is going to be an intriguing period of this race, and that Porsche again, Peter, just doesn't seem to quite have the edge of the Ferrari and the Audi.
In certain places, yes, but in other places it does. Coming out of a slow corner, it's still got some good drive. Davidson driving out there, out of Aintree onto the Wellington straight, looking very, very strong, pulling a car length or so in that acceleration phase. So where is it that the Ferrari and the Audi of Thompson and Boumé, where are they making their lap time then? Maybe on the change of direction, possibly with that mid-engine layout. Maybe the car a little bit more nimble on its feet than the occasionally slightly more cumbersome Porsche that can maybe understeer a little bit more.
Well, if these three start fighting a bit more, Victor Wolfson, you could see him in the background of the shot then as we cut to a replay, white line fever for Jack Osborne. He's found the pit wall, and I think that's going to be his day done here. But if they're not careful, if they all start tripping over each other, Victor Wolfson and Dennis Grabowski are both catching up to these three at the front. We could have a five-way battle for the lead soon if these three are not careful.
And that might well happen. That might well happen. How cool would that be to see a proper multi-car shootout for this first victory of the year in the endurance races for the World GT Championship? It was 2 feature races last time out at Portimao, and endurance here at Silverstone. Fantastic stuff. Bume, though, is clearly keen to avenge his little error on the last lap, and he's going to try and make a move on Thompson up the inside. Thompson goes for the apex very early, saying no, try again, think of something else. And Thompson looking very racy too. This is anybody's game at the front.
It's WSR Esports versus Team Redline versus Altitude Esports at the front of the field. This is a really intriguing one. 3 different manufacturers of car as well. And Wolfson in that Bayos Simsport car, in the red and white car, slowly gaining on them. That last lap, well, he was 0.8 of a second quicker than Davidson was Wolfson. So keep an eye out for him in all of this. There's Thompson and Bume. Switch of position for those two. Thompson with a flash of the headlights. I don't think he appreciated that move from Bume.
Well, there was nothing wrong with it at all. Absolutely nothing wrong with it. Thompson might be saying, oh, you're letting him get away, but yeah, I don't think there was anything wrong with that. Firm move, but fair. So Bume's through. What's happened to Andy's shield? Oh, he's lit it up on the curb.
It's that puddle again.
Yep. Oh.
And that won't be helping his rear downforce at all, having a minus.
Or the engine that's in there as well.
But yeah, no rear wing on that Porsche will mean very little grip, which I think, again, to pull the Ronism again, it's suboptimal.
Well, maybe the value of it might have gone up, turning it into a touring GT3 rather than a regular one, because the touring ones do carry a bit of a premium. So Thompson's got to get his head back down again and get back in the groove and try and put the pressure on. And straight away, Bume's closing in on Davidson. So after getting the move done on Thompson, Bume's going to have another bite of the cherry here. Oh, Josh Boot does very well to keep that out the wall.
Great stuff. Careful. Oh no, and then Ian Brown, around he goes in all of this and collects Josh Boot. Oh dearie me. He's just got spooked by Boot being around, turning himself back round. He's lost it himself as Ian Brown, and yeah, it's certainly not ideal for him out there. But this race lead battle, Bume is all over the back of Davidson here as they go through the first couple of corners here at Abbey and Farm, in towards Village once again. And looking for that outside line goes Bume. It is the preferred line in the wetter conditions here. And then through Village, get on the power. This is all about power application out of the loop through Aintree to carry the speed onto the Wellington Straight, named after the bombers that were stationed here. It was a training facility for the Wellington Bombers, was Silverstone. If you ever get the chance to go to the Silverstone Museum, I thoroughly recommend it. You do learn about this venue's history, not just from a motor racing point of view as well. It's a really good place to go, actually.
And if you're watching there, a pair of Wellingtons right now would be quite handy as well. Keep those feet dry. I do like a pair of Le Chameaux. In fact, my dad actually had a pair of Aigle Wellies, which were fantastic. Used to nick them all the time.
Big twitch on corner exit there for Bume. And you can see what the drivers have to deal with the spray. I remember when iRacing launched the wet weather, they had a video put out, and it was Tony Kanaan was talking about it, and he says, "Yeah, no, this is accurate. If you're behind another car, you can see very little in front of you in that spray."
So Davidson a little bit to the defensive there to try and keep Boumé at bay. This was where Boumé tried, and just as he asked for the power, the Porsche of Davidson just gains a couple of meters on that application of the throttle. So between Davidson's use of the right foot and the setup of that Porsche, just got that really good traction there. Just on that early application of the throttle, the Porsche just gets a little bit of a jump on the Audi.
Wolfson's gaining here. He is absolutely gaining on these drivers. Don't count out Victor Wolfson out of a race win here in all of this. As again, Boumé looking to that outside line through Village. He's got the inside now for the loop. Onto the brakes, but Davidson could get on the power a bit earlier and up over the curb. That's not ideal for Boumé, and that allows Davidson to hold on to the lead for now.
For now, yeah, I think Boumé was a bit lucky not to get a slowdown penalty there, because he was really over the edge of the curve there. So here he goes again into Brooklands, and again Davidson shuts the door at the last moment there to keep Boumé out. It's Luffield, the right-hander, which just seems never ending, and Davidson just placing the Porsche exactly where it needs to be, not giving Boumé a sniff through there. But now it's a fast run through towards Copse, a bit of a different kettle of fish.
Do you know what? I don't think that Thompson can quite live with Boumé and Davidson's pace, and Boumé had to get out of it through Copse, and that's so difficult to do in wet conditions, isn't it, Peter? Because you unsettle that car by even just letting off the throttle, you can be spun around. Yep,
and I think that's where the Porsche is being driven in a different way. As Harry Langford gets it all wrong over the curbs again. And right there in the middle of the road. Well done, everyone getting around there. Wow, that's great driving. So it does seem though that in the mid to high speed corners, the Audi's got really good speed of James Boumé, but Davidson's just able to park the car in the right place in the middle of the corner to negate that advantage of the Audi, and then use the advantage of Davidson able to use the advantage of the Porsche to drive out. Watch this, they coming out of club, just on that early application. Not quite as pronounced there. There's an Audi strewn across the road. Now, is that Adam Watson? It's one of the altitude Audis. No,
it's Jonathan Walker.
Oh dear,
Johnny Walker around. I think that might be the end of his day. Do you know what? You could hear it on the audio. The rain seems to be getting a bit harder now, and it's really starting to become slippery out there. Again, Boumé, he loves that outside line through Village. He really does. There's a car off on the inside of the loop there for the time being as they come out through the Aintree corner. Down the Wellington straight once again, but Boumé just seems to have a really good run on that outside line through Village in towards the loop.
That's such a good place to get an overtaking move done. Often when tracks are changed significantly, everyone yearns for the old layout, but I think that new section, it's now 14 years old, but the updated section from 2010, shall we say, it does give a great opportunity for overtaking there, I would say. So that's definitely one that he's got an eye on, and Davidson, he can't cover every bit of the road, so Davidson's going to have to be really on his game to keep Boumé at bay through that section particularly. And he's rallied again. He's clearly got everything back in the window. He's ready to fight again, and we've still got 28 minutes left, so there is still a long old way to go here, and Wilson's getting closer.
Thompson got onto the sausage curb through the first part of Maggots into Beckett's, and he had a big twitch then. That's cost him a little bit of time. He's collected that car, and now down the hangar straight. I know we've been focused so much on this race lead battle, but it is an intense one. It is brilliant driving from these drivers in such adverse weather conditions. Wolfson, He's getting within 3 seconds of the leaders now. He is getting up there towards them. And as I say, don't write out Victor out of a race win here yet.
No, he's in there. He's in there for sure. Victor Wilson in that Ferrari, a newcomer to the championship. And I tell you what, it looks fantastic. It's got a little bit of the sort of mid-90s McLaren F1 GTR with the certain Swiss-owned tobacco company's colours on it.
Yeah. We can't obviously endorse any of that right now, but it does look a really good paint job.
Millet Forrest is the owner of it.
As the Bayos SimSport team then, it is a stunning car, is that actually? I really like that livery, but race leaders got a lot of traffic, and in fact there is a lot of traffic down the road from them as well. That could be a big factor. Boomay to the inside. That's going to be a brave move to Brooklands, and well, Davidson hangs it out around the outside. This one is going to just carry on and on and on. It's like the Duracell bunny is this. This is fantastic. It just keeps on going.
It's superb. And they've dropped Thompson all of a sudden again. So Thompson's now 0.8 of a second adrift. You can't overtake here, Christian Horner says so. Uh-oh.
I'll tell you what, it's a good job I muted my microphone then, because I was making all sorts of noises right then.
Yes, it is absolutely banned, not allowed at all, according to Christian Horner.
As we go through Beckett's...
The Red Bull car, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And through Chapel onto the hangar straight. And you can see, you just can't see anything of the cars in front of you. And it just takes one little mistake for you to miss a braking spot, and before you know it, you're into the car in front. I remember... again, showing my age here, Peter. I remember back at Adelaide in, I think it was 1991, the season finale at Adelaide. It absolutely, and I'm going to use the Yorkshire colloquialism here, it absolutely siled it down. It was pouring with rain. I think it was up until Spa a few years ago, the shortest Grand Prix, at about 16 laps. And there was a famous shot of just an onboard camera from the gearbox of the rear of one of the cars spraying, and all of a sudden, car into the car in front.
Yeah, it's you know, the conditions now, they're thankfully... There are conditions that would have been raced in the past which aren't now, even with the modern day tyre technology. It's, yeah, sometimes it's just time to park up and just wait for it to be a little bit drier. It doesn't have to be fully dry, of course, but we can race in the rain. But when it's lots of standing water, but we don't have that issue on the simulator, and Boomay a mistake, and that allows Alex Davidson some really valuable breathing spaces. They're coming up against traffic, and Davidson will now be able to approach that traffic looking forward rather than with eyes in the back of his head. But tell you what, Boomay's good there through that Luffield section, gets it around there quickly. You mentioned, Paul, that you're showing your age. I think, aren't we now, compared to our much more youthful and energetic colleagues, we are definitely the last of the summer wine lineup on RaceSpotTV.
Well, I've got the flat cap for the last of the summer one. And
I've got the hairline for it.
The film just not too far from me, up in Home Firth near Huddersfield. Dennis Grabowski and Victor Wolfson are battling. They've just swapped places, so Wolfson must have either had an issue out there, or just that Dennis Grabowski, Altitude Esports, have got that Audi absolutely dialed in right now, although Boomay still can't get past your race leader of Alex Davidson. But look at the traffic in front of your leaders.
Grabowski looking good, isn't he? In fourth position, he's going to throw. Oh, no, this is Boomay now trying to make a move on Davidson, Grabowski's teammate. So Altitude having a really good day. And I mean, look at the race that we saw at the beginning. That first sort of 10 minutes or so, it was a WSR Porsche 1, 2, 3 with other cars close by, and now Davidson's effectively flying the flag on his own. McFarlane's their next car down in 7th. You maybe wouldn't have predicted that when they locked the top 4 out in quali.
Well, you look at it, McFarlane, Erdely and Evdoka, 7th, 8th and 9th right now in their respective Porsches. Yeah, you would not have predicted that after qualifying, but it was qualifying in the dry. It's one thing to qualify in the dry, it's another thing to race in the wet. And it's how these drivers would have wanted to have set up their cars. Maybe that Altitude Esports have decided, you know what, we're going to run a little bit more downforce for this race and compromise the car a little bit, as the leader's coming up on lap traffic. Boom 8 to the outside. Davidson's made the mistake. He hit the curb on the inside of Brooklands, but he's now got the preferred outside line to get the power down sooner. But they've got that lap traffic right in front of them. It's Nick Kirstens who's in front. He's doing nothing wrong here. He's trying to get out the way, and the leaders now come flying past.
And Thompson actually just popping out of the, if you can call it that, the slipstream, to actually try and just get a bit of vision of what on earth is going on in front. I mean, great shots from our producer, director Hugo Luis, just giving a great impression of what the drivers are putting up with. And big respect, big respect. To keep it anywhere on the track here and not have it speeding off into the barrier just shows you the level of skill these drivers are at. This is not a condition that they have great experience in. This is a new feature to the iRacing platform, so it's still very much in its early days for the driver, and yet they're looking like they've driven on it for years.
Best wishes to Ben Gregory, who's just commented that he's actually in hospital right now, so all the best to you. Hope you're able to enjoy this one, because look at it. First, second, third, you could almost throw a blanket over them. They're that close to each other. Grabowski's not that far behind, and Victor Wolfson isn't that far behind him either. It's a 5-car race for the lead, and we've still got 20 minutes to go.
Well, you could throw a blanket over them, but it's certainly not a wet blanket of a race, that's for sure. This is fantastic, and yeah, echo that sentiment, Ben. We all wish you well. Oh, Grabowski's off.
Sorry to cut across you there, Peter, but that was a big moment for Dennis Grabowski, who was fighting to try and get up into that front podium position, and we just saw him at the bottom of the screen slide off as Davidson is having to go very defensive here, Peter.
He is. He's trying everything. Oh, they bang wheels. They bang wheels on the entry down into Brooklands. But here comes Boumé around the outside, and he likes this section coming up towards Luffield now. Can he get it done? Look at Davidson around the outside trying to make it work on that karting line. And Boumé's going to try and hold on to it. Oh, he's in the wall! He's in the wall! Davidson! Oh, Davidson carries on. Boumé comes across the front of Davidson, and he's in the fence. But here comes Thompson.
Oh my goodness. In one moment, can a race just swing for Altitude Esports? Earlier in the lap, Dennis Grabowski slides off the track on the exit of the second corner and is off into the wall. Thompson and Davidson, they're going side by side here into Brooklands, and Brooklands into Beckett. Here comes Victor Wolfson through all of this. Jack Sedgwick is catching up to the back of them. James Boumé's not out of the race, but he has got damage to his Altitude Esports Audi. But my goodness, this business has picked up here at Silverstone. There's a squeeze, there's a rub, and here comes Wolfson. Oh, there wasn't quite a gap there. It's all checking up mid-corner.
That was 3 cars all making contact with one another at the same time, and they all get through somehow. Jack Sedgwick could win this race. Jack Sedgwick in 4th, our defending champion, who we've hardly mentioned at all this race, and he is all of a sudden right there in the mix.
And right now at this point of the track, the sun's out. the sun is out right now at this point of the track. Here's a replay of what happened to Grabowski. I think he just touched the white line on the exit. Around he goes at Farm Curve. And then this is on corner exit of Luffield onto the power, and it's just 2 into 1. Does not go.
You can't put that on Davidson. Davidson did not. There was nothing intentional there. Just like 2 cars into 1 doesn't go. Is that Wilson around?
It is.
Oh my word!
Well,
so now are we seeing potentially, as the track dries, is the wet tyre going to overheat and make grip even worse?
I think there's another band of rain due still though, so I don't think it'll maybe dry up that much, but just a little sunny interval in this weather, and all of a sudden the drivers have gone for it. Oh, Wolfson, it's going to be a puddle. Yeah, puddle on the inside. Oh my goodness. Oh, what is this race going to give us? It's fantastic to watch. The brilliant stuff for these drivers.
Well, you've heard about the Bernie button, about hit the Bernie button for the add water. Well, what do we call it? The Andy Shields lever. He's series organisers, Andy Shield, Paul Webster. Whoever they've had to line with Silver to get the perfect weather conditions to set the most entertaining race. Fantastic stuff. And the driver's putting on just a grandstand show. Boumé is surviving. So whatever damage he's got, he is surviving. He's in 4th still. He's ahead of Wilson. Remarkable. Absolutely remarkable that car is going. He went into the fence, and he's just got to try and keep his head cool, get this to the finish. It could come his way. He could still get onto the podium here and come out with a good load of points. He'll be disappointed that the win is going to look difficult from here, but drama. And now Thompson in the lead.
Incredible. Thompson in the lead. Jack Sedgwick up 9 places up into 3rd place in all of this. Absolutely sensational stuff. Mark Fletcher, I touched on him briefly earlier on in the race. He's up 14 places in 11th place in the Altitude Esports by SimStickers car. Incredible stuff by some of you drivers out there. Rhys Saunders, 13th. I mentioned it, top am out there. He's ahead of your top Pro-Am right now. As things stand, Rhys Saunders is your best Am in 13th. Your best Pro-Am is Jamie Rushworth in 14th place.
Great job. Amazing job, but it's far from done. Far from done yet. There's just one tiny blip in judgment. You just put one wheel onto the painted line or the painted curb, ask for that little bit too much power, and whoop, round you go, and it's the race win just disintegrates in front of you. So this is far from done for any of these drivers, and you cannot relax. And mentally, it's huge. I mean, to keep your concentration, to keep the mistakes at bay, just go and try and do it. Try and drive for it. Set it on Silverstone GT3 car. Put it on wet conditions and see how far you can get without making a mistake. Then you'll see just how good a job these drivers are doing.
And they're not just doing it, they're doing it on the edge as well.
Yes.
They are absolutely on the edge. I know some of the Pro-Ams and the Ams are maybe sort of holding back a little bit more to just try and secure points, because a race of attrition, you could be picking up points. Boumé, you could see the damage then from the onboard of Victor Wolfson's car then. Wolfson's going to go past here. I think Boumé is down on top speed right now, but incredible stuff from this week 2 of the season. And I tell you what, if they're all going to be like this, I can't wait. This is brilliant.
It's fantastic. And now Thompson with that little bit of clean air, just trying to get his head down and really put some good laps in and try and keep Davidson at bay. There is one alternative working theory, that if the fuel isn't quite there, if the fact that Boumé was a lap later into the pits than everyone, and everyone else has to pit and Boumé doesn't, Boomy could still win the race. I do think the others are going to make it just with a bit of a fuel save, but I don't think there was going to be time for a great deal of fuel saving when they were in that 3-car punch-up, Paul.
No, absolutely not. That was bare knuckle stuff, was that. Absolutely sensational. There's 12.5 minutes remaining in this race. So Jamie Rushworth is your top Pro-Am. There you see him in 14th place. He's attacking Rhys Saunders, who's your top Pro driver. Oh, Rushworth just not able to quite get past. Ooh, almost a little kiss through Abbey Curve there. Second place Pro-Am is... you're not going to believe this, Peter. Adam Watson is your second placed Pro-Am driver right now.
Like I said, it's never dull, never ever dull with Adam. We love him for it.
Third place in Pro-Am is Paul Webster right now, so good results for those three at the front of Pro-Am. In Am, well, you see him in front of us right now. Rhys Saunders, 13th overall. He's leading Am. Your next best Am on track, you've got to go down to Jesse Payne Wilkins in 25th, which in a field this size, 54 car field, don't forget, at the start of this race, 25th is not a bad result for an Am. Ben Altria, who had a spin earlier on in the race, is in 28th and third place in Am. So it is certainly intriguing to watch as we've got some 2-3 wide going down towards Stowe. This is Mads Keltsam along there with the 88 of Jonathan Walker. So Johnny Walker's been able to wrestle the Audi to continue through. He's got damage to the front of the car. He's struggling with all of that, but Johnny Walker with Andy Shield, series admin, is being able to keep the car going, 38th, and Adam Locke in 39th at the back of that group of cars.
So just under 10 or just over 10 minutes to go. Josh Thompson has extended that lead out to 2.3 seconds, so he's looking good after that little coming together with Davidson and Boomy. I say a little coming together, it was a big one. Big one. Boomy is still hanging on in 5th, but hanging on, I think, is definitely the right way to look at it. Just got to try and get it to the end. Yes, it's disappointing, but this is a long championship, and if we're going to see races and with addition of weather, no one is safe at any point in the championship.
Yeah, it just adds another twist in the championship here, and I'm all for it. It's fantastic. It's produced some great entertainment. We've got heavy rain. Well, it's not heavy rain. It's the heaviest rain that we've had for about 3/4 of an hour now. So I think we're going to be raining all the way to the end of this race now for the final 10 minutes.
Looks like it, and I think it's also worth giving a load of credit to the race, the series organisers, because they could have introduced the wet weather when it was released, which would have been mid-season last season. In my opinion, I think that was absolutely the right call to be more prudent and say, no, we're not going to put it in. We're going to do it for next season. Give the teams and drivers the chance to get used to it, get some practice in, and then we go racing with it once everyone's had a chance to get some track time. In my view, that's a very, very wise call, and is proving so.
Mike Horder couldn't make it to the end on his fuel load, so he's had to take a splash and dash at the end here. Here's Nick Kirstens into Stowe Corner, and going into Stowe Corner backwards. That's not the ideal line through there, unfortunately, Nick. It's been a difficult race for Nick, it must be said. Had damage earlier on, now that spin. Still in 36th though, so still keeping going. That's good to see from Nick. The top, let's see how many, the top 29, so down to Andy Archer, are on the lead lap still. So I still think, given the conditions and the lack of experience of some people, Joe Newman saying in the virtual paddock that zero wet practice bites you in the backside. Who would have thought? Well, to still have 29 on the lead lap, that's pretty much half the field here. In fact, it will be half, but just over half the field. That's good going.
It is. Yeah, I would agree. And the gap just growing still at the front. Mike Horder for Boosted Motorsports running the Rainbow Livery Corvette. It's almost got a bit of the old Apple computer Porsche 935s of the early 80s to it. That, as always, Boosted Motorsport with the most colourful schemes on the grid. I'm sure Ben Gregory will appreciate that one.
Return to the grid for Mike as well. Johnny Walker. Oh, something's happened here. There's a puddle, and there's an Audi heading for the wall. That's yeah.
The one thing that Johnny Walker always has in his favour, though, he will always be the most stylish guy on the grid.
Yes, absolutely.
Because he's head to toe in 3M outerwear.
As I will say, keep an eye on this race for second place now, because Jack Sedgwick can sniff the second step of the podium right now. I think Alex Davidson is maybe a little bit of a wounded duck right now, and he's struggling out there at this stage with 6.5 minutes to go. Sedgwick's showing his nose. I think that's more just being able to see his braking point and turning in point.
I think you're right, yeah, but I tell you what, if Sedgwick could get out of this with a second place, that would be mighty, mighty helpful to his championship chances. He had just rotten luck in the opening round of the season at Portimao with an issue with his PC, which cost him really dearly. So he's on the back foot early on. It's kind of it's the Jack Sedgwick way, isn't it? He doesn't tend to burst out the gates in a championship. He was really where he won last season's championship was in the second half of the season. So we'll see how he goes this year. But yeah, if you could put championship leader Alex Davison down a position here, it would psychologically at least make a good difference.
Out of the field they go. They've got lap traffic in front of them in Thomas Asfaug, who again has been somebody struggling in the wet weather in that Ford Mustang. Through Copse Corner they go once again, and right as I say that, there goes Asfaug spinning. My goodness, Davidson will have taken a big intake of breath right about then.
Oh, you bet he will. Yeah, that's not what you want to see, and that's where sometimes it can just be totally out of your control. Asfaug just carries a little bit too much speed, and round it goes. It seems in the wet conditions the Mustang proving a little bit more of a handful than expected.
Yeah, even though it is quite a long wheelbase car, it must be said, it does seem to be struggling. Mads Lund Jensen, who was in 10th place, has got a mechanical meatball warning flag, and here's what's happened coming out of Woodcote onto the puddles there and heavily into the barriers there. The grandstand getting to see it right in front of a KRD Porsche. Oh my goodness, and there was somebody spinning behind as well. It's getting a bit treacherous out there, I think, for these drivers. The rain is continuing to fall, and it is a real struggle as contact with a car through mid-corner, and Jensen deciding enough is enough and take the tour back to the pit road.
So 4 minutes now to the end of the race. Thompson's got a decent advantage, just around 4 seconds for now from Alex Davidson. Sedgwick desperately trying to get that second position from Davidson in the dying moments. Now who's that off the road?
Again?
It's Boumé. Oh no. Oh, it goes from bad to worse from James Boumé. So what's happened there? He's all on his own. Coming around the first sector of the lap.
Oh, it's gone.
It breaks away and he nearly catches it.
I mean,
not
he does
quite.
well. He does well to avoid the barriers there, to be fair. He does a good job. Mark Fletcher has to pit. He hasn't got enough fuel to make it to the end. At stints, I can tell you right now, the front 6 are all on lap 22 of their stint. There goes Fletcher out of pit road. How far did they make it in the first stint? It was about
23, 24. I think they're okay. I think they're okay. So, in the dry, you're a 2-stopper, but in the wet, you can do it in a 1-stopper, certainly on a circuit like Silverstone. So, that's really, really interesting, and that I did not expect that at all.
That Porsche on corner exit then out of Beckett's, it just had that little bit of extra traction. The iRacing Ferrari of Jack Sedgwick, you look at him, he's having to get out the spray, he's having to look where is Davidson and look where his braking spot is. It really is wet out there for these drivers now, and you've got to be careful of the puddles though if you do pull out, because where drivers aren't driving, there's puddles forming on track.
Yeah, it's constantly evolving too, and you just hear how patient Sedgwick's having to be there on the throttle, and that turbocharged Ferrari just waiting and just slowly building the power in, feeding in the throttle. Not easy at all. It's not just like the braking and the turning, it's the application of the throttle. It's so difficult.
So this is the last lap, or it should be at least the last lap of this race. So if Sedgwick's going to make a move, he's got to make it soon and make it count. There's a big ton of traffic in front of Davidson. It's holding him up here, and this is going to give Sedgwick possibly a chance. But again, Sedgwick, you can hear him. You can see that he's struggling to put the power down the Wellington straight here. This is where the Ferrari just has a little bit of a speed advantage down the straight. Take the wide line there though. He's not doing it. He's keeping it in tight through Luffield now, looking to get the different run perhaps. No, they're staying off that inside curb. You can see how big the puddle is there through Luffield. Through Woodcote for the final time here, Peter. He's running out of spots, and again a big twitch for Sedgwick.
And it's, I mean, he's having moments in 4th, 5th gear there. It shows you just how tricky it is. Oh, Sedgwick again, just trying to get that power down, but the wheel spin is constant. Amazing, amazing control of the car.
Oh, Davidson was a little bit wide into the first part of Beckett's. That's allowed Sedgwick to close up, but he's too close, I think, on corner exit of Beckett's, and that's allowing Davidson to just get the gap. There you see in the foreground of the shot, your race leader, Josh Thompson, heading towards Stir Corner for the final time. A 4-second gap he's been able to build here for that Team Redline car. But then through Stir, these two go. They're still absolutely neck and neck, but there's Thompson in that Team Redline Ferrari. What a job he has done. 4 places gained in this race for Josh. He's had to do it the hard way though, and he is coming across the line to win this week's race here, the first endurance race of the World GT Championship. Davidson hangs on to second place over Jack Sedgwick in the end. Victor Wolfson not that far behind in 4th. Your top AM is going to be before your top Pro-Am. There he is, Rhys Saunders, right on the tail, it must be said, of Nathan Moore. So Nathan Moore in that WSR Porsche just struggling a little bit for pace towards the end. Can Rhys Saunders get another spot? He's having a look. No. There is the answer, and quite now, if I'm Rhys Saunders, I'm thinking, do you know what? 11th place is really good points for my AM Championship. Into the Vale, and then club for the final time. And that Porsche in front should get the power down better, although Rhys is showing his nose. He's not giving it over yet. So your top AM, Rhys Saunders, he takes the AM victory, and then we look back because Jamie Rushworth, he takes the Pro-Am victory here in his Porsche. But Peter Mackay, our first experience of wet weather here in this series in the World GT Championship, and it was a blinder.
I would say it was a success, yes. For sure. Fantastic motor racing. Great job by all the drivers. I don't think we can commend them highly enough. Those conditions looked brutal.
Yeah, I'm glad I'm sat this side of the commentary box rather than trying to wheel one of these cars out there. That is for sure. Brilliant stuff from the drivers and tremendous effort. As we've been labouring all the way through that race, to get to the end of that race was no mean feat, that is for sure. But somebody who did get through and took victory here is Team Redline's Josh Thompson, winner in his Ferrari by 4.1 seconds over the WSR Esports Butt Kicker Pro Championship leader Alex Davidson in second place, only just beating the last season's champion Jack Sedgwick for NX Racing in third. Victor Wolfson, it was one mistake that maybe had cost him the chance of potentially going for a victory here today. Dennis Grabowski, he found the wall on the exit of Farm Curve, and that's what put him down to fifth place in the end. Gabriel Erdelai, well, it was what could have been for him and his teammate who dropped down the order in the top 10, but does finish ahead of James Boumet, of course, had that second mistake out of Farm Curve towards the end of the race. Finishes ahead of Ross McFarlane, with Michael Evdoka and Nathan Moore rounding out the top 10. Your top AM for Altitude Esports by Mr. Hedge. Reece Saunders gets that AM victory here today in 11th overall. Sensational drive from the young man in the Audi. Axel Sliptrovic in 12th, and then your top Pro-Am, Jamie Rushworth for KRD. Oh, Jamie won't forgive me for that one. He finishes top Pro-Am in 13th, ahead of Matt Fletcher and Anders Meyer. Michael Gray, a recovery drive after going grass tracking across the Beckett's section and being in the wall down the Wellington Straight. 16th for him in that full tilt motorsport car, and second place in Pro-Am with Adam Watson. A exuberant day at the office for Adam. He finishes third in class, 17th overall, ahead of Paul Webster, Alessandro Toccia and Jake Blackall. 21st for Alex Gall, who pitted very early in that race. We think he maybe took slicks to start with, and he finishes 21st. 22nd and second place in AM for Jesse Payne Wilkins' full tilt competition car. Last driver on the lead lap as well, so good job from Jesse Payne Wilkins. Richard Simner and Andy Archer 23rd, 24th, ahead of the third placed AM driver Ben Altria for full tilt motorsport. One lap down in 25th. Phil Samways, Bacon Zelenka, Mike Horder, Thomas Asfag, who had a tricky day in that Mustang, and then in 30th place with 29th place Chris Chatterton, I believe. 30th then in the end for the driver of Nick Kirstens, although he is showing us 31st on our graphics. I think there's been a little bit of a change post-race after the results. But Josh Boot showing in 32nd ahead of Dan Blackwell, Ben Bennyworth ahead of Andy Shield, Adam Locke, Harry Langford, Mads Kelton, Mike Barber and Jonathan Walker 40th place. 41st for Adam Hedgecock ahead of Mads Lund Jensen, who we saw having issues early in the race. Simon Andre Livingston, then the last driver, one lap down in 43rd ahead of Ian Brown in 44th. Then Mads Timme ahead of Joe Newman, Jack Osborne, Lee King McGee, Peter Herschel and Nikolai Agard. And then the final few who did not finish as well: Eric Rousseff, Ethan Critchley with technical problems, Taylor Lane and Nathan Healy. Well, Peter, once again, it seems to be tradition that we speak to Josh Thompson after that race, a sensational race, and here is your race winner with Peter Mackay.
Josh, congratulations on a first win of the season in the World GT Championship. You told us last week you needed the cooler temperatures. Was this what you were meaning?
Cool, yes. Rain, did not expect that. I'll tell you that right now. A bit of a panic before we got onto the grid, like 1 minute 55, full panic on what to do with the car and stuff. So lucky enough, it paid off.
I mean, you mentioned panic. I get, is that more than just the tyre choice? Is that making sure you've got the right setup for a wet race to get that all put in before it's time to go?
Yeah, the thing is though, like normally, like at the Spa 24, you can like there's in-car adjustments which people like you do in the stints. We expected a bit of rain. We got told there was going to be rain, but like we thought it was going to be later on in the race, like the last 30-40 minutes. But when we got to the gridding and we saw like on my last queue up, it started raining in the final sector, so already knew it was going to be a wet race. And we then saw the forecast, it was like 100% rain the entire time. So all the adjustments I wanted to do later on in the race, I just had to put on the car straight away. I got on the grid with like I think 8 seconds to go. Lucky enough, so yeah. Like you said, it was just trying to get everything set up in that small amount of time.
Tell us about traction or lack of it. How on earth are you, because we saw it on various cars, trying to get the power down in these wet conditions. Just try and describe for us what that's like in the cockpit to try and get the power down here in this condition.
I'm going to sound bad when I say this because I've won the race, but I probably had the worst traction out of the top 3 cars. So compared to the Audi and the Porsche, you saw like Stint 2, for instance, when I was behind James and Alex, I could get close to them, but as soon as it came to a slow traction zone, they just pulled away. And then what would happen is, as soon as I have any sort of traction issues on throttle, it'd overheat the rears, and then I have to wait 2 laps for the tyres to come back to me before I could push again. So it's like a lot of time management, but I think it's the same for everyone. The problem is, because obviously the track was drying up and getting wet again, drying up and getting wet again quite fast, we were swinging like 2 or 3 seconds between 2 laps. It was quite inconsistent. Obviously, you get used to doing one thing, and then next lap you have to do something completely different. But it's safe for everyone, and I thought, to be honest, everyone did a good job, especially that front group. I thought it was very good.
Yeah, I would certainly agree with that. It was an absolute cracker to watch. Josh, congratulations on this first win, and the very best of luck for round 3 in a week's time. Thanks for coming to join us.
No problem at all. Thank you.
Well, there we go. Josh Thompson joining us for his, it seems to be, traditional interview here, Peter. But I know you're looking forward to the next one. Circuit Jerez. I know you could talk about it for about an hour and a half, but you've got a minute. What can we look forward to?
We might be back to what we saw in Portimao with sky-high track temperatures, so there might be low grip again, but maybe due to a different reason. So Jerez, special event, it's at a special place, absolutely dripping in motorsports heritage there. It's again a reasonably recent addition to the iRacing platform, so not a circuit that everyone's got thousands of laps on. It's going to be really interesting to see who comes out on top.
Can be difficult to overtake at as well in places, so that is for sure. I'm looking forward to it. I've never commentated a race round there, so that'll be a special one. But I'm afraid that is all that we've got time for here on RaceSpotTV. It has been an absolute thrilling race. The rain came and it didn't disappoint, that is for sure. Until next week at Circuit Jerez, from me, Paul Smith, from Peter Mackay on commentary, Hugo Luis on production here today. Until next week, take care and we'll see you soon.
1, 2, 3, let's go.